In this video, we're going to be making some crazy Minecraft experiments using a combination of tools, more specifically World Painter, the ultimate map making tool for Minecraft. Now normally people use this program to create simple landscapes, islands, you know, the usual stuff. Sometimes we even take things a step further and create all sorts of crazy looking landscapes. But is this really all it can do? I mean, probably. But I really want to use this video to experiment as much as possible and create all kinds of crazy projects, maybe even some alternate realities. So for the very first experiment, we're going to be using the end dimension to really make use of, you know, the general atmosphere. One of the tools I don't think I've ever used before is the pyramid tool. I mean, it's pretty basic, but with some very careful brush strokes, we could potentially make some really interesting shapes. Now, this was not an easy concept, but with just a few hours of work, here we have the results of the first experiment. And honestly, having done this with just World Painter, it looks pretty good. I mean, the colors, you know, the cracks filled in with sea lanterns for extra lighting is just a really cool idea. And by the way, you can download some of these custom brushes for free over on my website, as well as a few Minecraft builds. Now, I really think we can work with this, so of course I got rid of the bedrock layer and started tidying up the edges. But here's where things always get a little bit complicated, because obviously the bottom of the island is completely flat. So one of the things you can do is just increase the height of the entire landmass by about 150 blocks. Then just jump back into World Painter, and by using the original map, we can work around the outline to create a second island featuring the exact same shape. Now once it's all complete, all we have to do is make some minor changes, then just flip the entire island upside down. I'm talking as if this was some sort of easy process, but boy was it an absolute nightmare trying to get this to work. Just calculating the measurements, not to mention all the crashes, but I still feel like we can still make some improvements to this project. So we're going to add a few streaks of light just flowing down into the abyss, and to top it all off, I even built a few giant floating obelisks. You know, just trying to make this place look as randomly magical as possible. So honestly, I'm quite liking the look of this, and I know I should have probably done this earlier, but I ended up going back to World Painter just to create a bunch of smaller islands using the exact same process. I wasn't even planning on spending so much time on this one experiment, but you know me, I just can't help myself. I mean, at this point, we're building the entire end update. So I think it's time we just move on to the next experiment, where I'm going to be using a setting called object layers. Now normally people use this to add trees and rocks to their maps, but what if we just painted buildings and other crazy stuff? So I grabbed a few schematics of just some standard village buildings just to test out my theory and imported them into World Painter. Bro, I'm actually so weirdly excited, like this actually might work. Okay, so I don't want to get my hopes up, so I designed a basic island and painted the houses onto the flatter surfaces, just creating some paths between the buildings and adding a few trees. And let me just say, I am absolutely shocked at how well this worked out. I mean, look at this place, it is absolutely crazy. I honestly just can't believe I've never thought about doing this before. The houses blend in so nicely between the gaps in the trees, and just by avoiding the steeper terrain, the houses just end up fitting perfectly. It's almost like a proper functioning city. Now usually this is the kind of stuff I do off camera, but I thought it would be fun to show you anyway. I basically surrounded the village in some badly done mountains, which actually turned out looking quite interesting in game. So I decided to, you know, flip the entire island upside down. I know it's a pretty ridiculous idea, but still it looks pretty epic. I just think it would be interesting if Mojang added some kind of cave dwellers to Minecraft, not necessarily villagers, but maybe a new kind of trading style mob. Now of course I just had to try this with some of my own creations, so I put together a few schematics, you know, just a few different shaped houses from the server, a few fire pots, some stacked boulders, and of course a small selection of trees. I prepared all the brushes on World Painter, and I'm really going to try my best to take my time with this. I know it sounds a bit excessive, but this entire map took around 12 hours to design, and what started as a very simple grass covered valley eventually transformed into this absolutely stunning village, surrounded by natural rock formations, luscious trees, and just honestly, it is quite hard to believe that this map was entirely created on just World Painter. Okay, so maybe I did add some waterfalls, but aside from that, this place is looking incredible. Now don't get me wrong, like every single time I had to double check the map after exporting, I'd always find some weird messed up situation, like a ton of fire pots on one mountain, too many trees, too many houses, whoops, too many boulders, and I don't even know what happened here. I know something went wrong as soon as I realized the exporting was taking a few hours. Bro, even the campfires are glitching, like we've officially broke the game. Granted, I have over 10 years experience with this program and even I found this difficult to put together, so I don't think I'd recommend you guys even try this unless you really know what you're doing. Now I did do some other experiments using the same concept, and here we have an absolutely crazy looking ice cave using massive spikes made entirely out of pearlescent frog lights. This has to be one of my favorite designs, and you guys know I have an obsession with spikes, and the extra glow effect just makes it so much better. The cool thing is we can actually retexture the entire map, and just like that we've created two completely opposing biomes, from an icy crystal cave to the fiery depths of the nether. And by the way, you can download all of these creations on my website or just by becoming a $5 Patreon. Okay, now this next project is not so much a crazy world painter experiment, but rather just a really cool, simple idea I've always wanted to create. Now, I've imported this standard Minecraft world, and we're going to be using this map to design the tallest mountain peak I could ever possibly create, at least on default Minecraft. Now, if you've ever wondered what that might look like, this is it right here. I mean, at first glance, I honestly thought it would be a lot taller, but if we do check out the view from the top, I mean, it's still quite a long way down. Now, this is going to be such a boring and tedious task, but I really wanted to build a spiraling road all the way up to the top of the mountain. Honestly, like every single time I'd finish one section of the road, I'd think I'd be almost at the top, then end up looking up and realizing there's just such a long way to go. But eventually, after a few hours of mindless building, I somewhat made it to the top of the mountain. Now this is looking so much nicer than I thought it would. It almost looks as if the mountain is tilting to one side, but I don't know, maybe that's just my eyesight going crooked from building this godforsaken path. I did of course have to cut off the top of the mountain just to give us some extra space to build. I was planning on just a simple house, but that slowly morphed into a sort of castle watchtower, which honestly makes for a pretty interesting starter base, although you might have to get some elytras, so I don't know about that. I don't think walking up to your base is going to be very practical, but if you do decide to download this world, it's definitely an interesting place to start, with plenty of space to expand your kingdom, and there's even a bunch of villages and shipwrecks among other things. Now, even though this has nothing to do with World Painter, I just had to show you because of just how crazy some of these build concepts can be. The best part is, anyone can make this. My grandma, your cat, believe it or not, it doesn't matter. All you need is a website called Tinkercad, which allows you to create all kinds of 3D models. You can pretty much manipulate the sizes and shapes to basically create anything you want. Once you're happy with your design, all you have to do is convert the shapes into blocks and export them as a schematic. Of course, you're going to have to experiment and retexture some of the blocks, but it's just such a powerful tool. If you want to find out more, check out this video where I transformed a giant Minecraft house.